Really quick editor's note, something really amazing happened in the middle of me making this video, so please make sure you stay tuned for this. I have a really wholesome, awesome story, and I'm just going to tack it on near the end, so if you watch anything in this video, at least skip to that part and watch that part of the video. I have to include this.
Humblemud.
That's right, you read this title correctly. My goal is to not buy any games in 2026. Now, before I begin, just know that this isn't going to be some sort of anti-modern games or anti-consumerist manifesto. I love games, new and old. I love buying games. However, I have so many games. And I realize that every January I say this is the year I catch up on my backlog, this is the year I play that classic, this is the year I tackle that JRPG. And by December I realize I forgot about all of that because I got distracted by a multitude of shiny new things. But 2026 will be different. Now, I know it's not going to be easy, and so part of the reason I'm making this video is to help keep myself accountable. So maybe consider subscribing if you'd like to see how this journey goes, and let's get into why I have so many games. Well, the answer is easy. I love video games. I'm not a collector by any means. I pick up the weird and wacky. I just love to play games. Ever since I first played Namco Museum way back when on my PlayStation 1 and learned about how that company revolutionized arcade gaming, how all these talented people have to come together in order to make a game, and thankfully in Namco's case, they were able to make some that have become cultural mainstays. Ever since I walked those museum halls and learned all of these things, I have become fascinated with games, their creation, and I greatly appreciate the amazing blend of creative vision and technical knowledge that's baked into them. Plus, they're just fun. There's nothing quite like losing yourself in an expansive RPG, getting deep into the mechanics of a fighting game, or walking away from a game you just beat knowing that it's going to leave a lasting impression on you and become something you get nostalgic for just a year or so from now. And because my love for video games is indiscriminate, there are so many different video games that I want to experience. That list of games continues to grow, and it doesn't help that I'm interested in pretty much every era of games that have released over the last 40 to 50 years, in addition to the fact that the ease of access to a majority of those games is unparalleled now. On top of all of this, there are many moments throughout gaming history where I feel like I have some major blind spots. The first blind spot I have is basically any landmark game you think of when you think of the PlayStation brand. Now, as I alluded to earlier when I talked about Namco Museum, I did have a PlayStation 1 for a time growing up, but my PlayStation eventually broke and I wasn't able to repair it. That's a story for another day. So anyway, while I experienced a taste of Spyro the Dragon, Namco Museum, Einhander, and a little Legend of Dragoon as a kid, that was all she wrote for me for a long time when it came to Sony's line of consoles. In fact, I'd never get another one again until I bought myself a PlayStation 4 as an adult. So what that means is, yes, I missed out on Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Crash Bandicoot, Ape Escape, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. The list goes on and on. I also missed out on the PS2's tidal wave of excellent platformers, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, plus no classic God of War games or Devil May Cry. Hell, I didn't even have a Grand Theft Auto game until GTA 5, and it's just kind of a crazy thought to think that I love games as much as I do, yet I've not played many staples from arguably the greatest consoles of all time. And of course that extends to the PS3 where, yeah, I've still not played The Last of Us, Resistance, or Uncharted, and it's probably going to be on that console where I play games like Eco for the first time. During the 7th generation, I had a Nintendo Wii, so that means I also missed out on a lot of landmark games, arguably best on the Xbox 360 like BioShock, Dead Space, Mass Effect, and Red Dead Redemption. My brother had a 360, so I did play some Halo, COD, and Skyrim, but there was a lot that we missed out on. During the rise of the internet, I mostly only played RuneScape on my parents' PC, so there goes Half-Life, Portal, Age of Empires, Planescape Torment, Heroes of Might and Magic, so many titles I think I would have been addicted to. Not to mention that this year I also discovered that there are some really great gems on platforms I'd previously never considered or really even cared about, like a Mercenary and Road Rash on the Panasonic 3DO, or a whole bevy of great games still being made to this day on the ZX Spectrum. And of course, I have the occasional odd curiosity to explore certain games that many consider bad, but I still see some sort of appeal in, or maybe even just because I know they have fantastic soundtracks, like Real Fishing Wild for the Dreamcast or Neo Turf Masters on the Neo Geo. And I don't even like fishing or golf really, but those vibes are immaculate, and this year I want a vibe. I don't know, it just feels like if I think of the history of video games as almost like this giant city that I live in, it's like I just suddenly decided to step out of my apartment on a whim, and instead of turning right like I usually do to go on my normal route, I just decided to go left for some reason. And now all of a sudden, I realize how many amazing places have come and gone, how many new streets I can walk down on that are filled with fascinating experiences everywhere I look, and little hole-in-the-wall places that a lot of people ignore, but I might find something special within. And then you think about all of this, and then you think about the fact that Steam saw over 18,000 games released in 2024 alone. Yeah, a lot of it is slop, a lot of it is a programmer's unpolished first project, I understand that, but statistically, there are still hundreds of games released every year that I'd probably enjoy at least decently if I had infinite time and money so that I could discover them. I feel FOMO for games decades old and games that just released yesterday. So as I started really getting back into this single-player gaming experience over the past few years, I picked up consoles I felt like I missed out on or naively sold when I was younger, and I started getting really good at finding deals. And looking at these games on my shelf, many of these have yet to be played, even though I could probably sit down with each one and tell you why it interests me. So this year, like I said, I'm stopping. I just stop the video right there. Stopping the procurement, stopping the payment, stopping the pileup. And you know what? I'm honestly pretty excited. I'm making the conscious decision this year to just focus on enjoying games, ignoring the churn and burn of the weekly new video game hype cycles, and educating myself on some pillars of gaming history, becoming a bit more cultured within this hobby that I adore. And if you're someone who really enjoys modern games, don't worry, I did snag a bunch of 2024 and 2025 stuff right before I began this challenge because, yeah, I'm interested in new stuff too, don't worry. I've got plenty to cover this year. Anyways, in order to tackle this appropriately and in some sort of organized manner, I used Infinite Backlog to create a list of the top 50 to 60 games I want to experience, from absolute classics like Half-Life, often forgotten games like Parasite Eve, to oddball picks I'm experiencing for myself like Paper Mario Color Splash. Of course, it would be awesome if I could get through all of these games, but realistically, I'll be happy if I can manage to experience about 60% of them throughout the course of this year. You can feel free to look through this list more in depth if you want via the link in the description, and if there are any games in that list that you see that you would really like me to cover, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to jump on that one sooner rather than later. Now, like I said, this isn't going to be easy. Agreeing to do this and drawing the line here today means I'm missing out on some 2025 games I think I would have really enjoyed, like Fantasy Life I, but then again, I never did finish playing Fantasy Life on my 2DS, and that's a perfectly good game. This also means I'm going to be late to the party on Gears of War E-Day and Resident Evil Requiem, but I have plenty of games in those franchises that I could spend some time familiarizing myself with if I get the itch for them. But the one big AAA game I'd really like to play, the one that hurts knowing that I'm going to miss out on it this year, is Capcom's Pragmata. That looks like my kind of game, my kind of premise and world and characters. I think it could be a 2026 Game of the Year contender for me, no joke. But unless Capcom decides to send it my way, which is unlikely, I'm not going to be getting to that one this year. Now, one last thing. I am going to allow myself 2 exceptions to this no purchase rule in 2026. You can feel free to judge me here and write the entire video off for these if you want, that's your prerogative, but I think once you hear my reasoning, especially for this first one, you'll understand. The first exception I'm allowing might seem like a weird choice, and it is, but it'll make sense once I explain. My late brother, who passed away in 2024, was a huge Star Fox fan, and so as a tribute to him, I've made a goal for myself that I will obtain and eventually play all of the Star Fox games in his honor, at least one per year. So far, I've played Star Fox 64 3DS, the original Star Fox 64, and I most recently beat Star Fox Zero since losing him. Now, I have a way to play all of the games in the series, except for one Star Fox adjacent game, and that's Starlink: The Battle for Atlas. Now, I know that one has mixed reviews and it doesn't say Star Fox on the box, but I don't care. It counts in my eyes because you can pilot an R-Wing and you can play as Fox in the Switch version of this game. And I think this was one that my brother would have picked up if he knew about it. So whenever Starlink Digital Deluxe and its Star Fox DLC go on sale again, I'm picking it up so that I can complete the Star Fox collection for my brother. Starlink Digital Deluxe and DLC has gone for as low as $12 each, so I'll grab it the next time it hits that price. And really quick story time, the story that I alluded to at the beginning of this video. Just a second ago, I mentioned that one of the exceptions I had for myself was Starlink: The Battle of Atlas. Well, I was not looking for this game, but the craziest thing happened when I was in the process of writing the script and getting all my thoughts out about this whole thing. My fiance's sisters were coming to visit us for an extended long weekend stay, and one thing I really wanted to do, since we had 5 people together to do it, is play Mario Chase on Nintendo Land. Of course, that's the thing that I wanted to do. But I only have 2 Wii remotes, and you need 4 if you want to have a 5-player experience. So I hit up this game store I found called Video Game Time. It's in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I have bought plenty of games from them in the past. Valkyria Chronicles, which is one of the backlog games I want to play, I got from them, and Velvet Assassin is another one that I talked about in my Xbox 360 video. It's a great place and they're always super nice. Anyways, I went there on January 1st, the day before her family was about to visit, the first day of the new year, and I noticed sitting on the top shelf was this mint Starlink Battle for Atlas boxed set, the one that comes with the R-Wing and all of that stuff. So the guy there at the store, he knows me, and I told him about this whole thing that I'm doing, that I'm not going to buy any games in 2026, and one of the few exceptions is Starlink. That was one of the only exceptions I made for myself, and what do you know, the very first day of 2026, this game that I have not been able to find anywhere for like 2 years was sitting right there on the shelf, right in front of me. So I was like, I guess I have to pick this up too. So yeah, I would like to get these Wii remotes, and I would like to get Starlink. And do you know what he did? After he heard my story, he insisted that I take Starlink Battle for Atlas for free. I felt really bad because I was really not trying to do this, sympathy thing, but he insisted. He said, no, you set a goal that you're not going to buy any games in 2026, and I'm going to help you do that. And it was just a really, really nice and wholesome thing. That store has recently been through some hardships, not much longer after my most recent visit with them. That store has been through a lot of things recently, and if there's any store that I've ever been to in the state of North Carolina that does not deserve the treatment that they received most recently, it's them. So if you're in North Carolina yourself or are nearby, definitely swing by their place. They have a great selection of games and consoles and controllers and all of those things, and everything is so fairly priced. The people there are so nice, and I just wanted to include a shout out to them because obviously you guys know as much as I talk about my brother, this meant a lot to me. So yeah, I now have Starlink Battle for Atlas substantially sooner than I thought, and in an amazing version that I wasn't even planning on buying for myself. So once I get the DLC for this game, I'll have the whole thing. And I feel like this basically solidified itself as, hey, you just beat Star Fox Zero, your next game is going to be Starlink. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I had to give a huge shout out to Video Game Time. They are just such great people, went through some unfair stuff, and I wanted to shine a spotlight on those guys. Anyway, let's talk about the next exception. The second exception, I decided I would allow myself one indie game in 2026. If there was any 2026 game that I should buy, it should be in support of an indie dev, right? And as much as I would love to get Pragmata, I feel like purchasing one full price AAA game kind of goes against the spirit of this whole backlog year challenge. So instead I set my sights on an indie game. I sat down for a long time and asked myself, what's the one new indie game that's been announced so far that I'm genuinely excited for? And I decided that the answer was Slain 2. Slain Back from Hell is one of my favorite indie games that I've played on the Nintendo Switch, full stop. Longtime viewers probably know I love gothic hack and slashes, and I think the art direction of Slain 2 is a big step up from the first, which I was already a fan of. And the main developer behind that game posts regular updates, and it should be out in 2026 hopefully. Based on the fact that Slain Back from Hell's prices range from $12.99 to $19.99 depending on the platform, I'm assuming Slain 2 will probably be about $30 max. So I don't anticipate anticipate it being too heavy on the wallet, but one thing it is heavy in is the metal vibes, and I might as well support an indie dev, right? And on the topic of indies, if an indie dev, or big developer for that matter, well, I guess one can dream, if any of you guys want to send me a review code for something that looks interesting, I'll give it a genuine go, just as I always have. I'm always trying to support indies on this channel, and I don't think they should suffer just because I'm a neurotic gamer who analyzes his own habits too much. If a friend gifts me a game, I'd feel bad turning that down. However, one thing I will not do is I will not accept any gifts from the audience. Just making that one clear. You guys already do plenty for me. So yeah, I feel good about this decision. I think I'm up for the challenge, and I'm interested to see this time next year if I actually make it all the way through 2026 this way. Of course, the moment I put this video out, something life-changing and insane like an official Legend of Dragoon remake will be announced, and I'll immediately fold. But if this video wills something like that into existence, then hey, you're welcome. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm interested to see your thoughts on this topic. Do you guys think I can do it? Are there any games in this backlog list that you would really like to see me talk about? How many of these games do you think I can get through before the end of this year? Do you feel like your backlog is judging you? Are you gonna have a backlog year this year? Any and all thoughts, I welcome them all. And if you're still here, thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay humble.